This is Speaking of Pets podcast, where we give you up-to-date, accurate, science-based information when making decisions about your pet's health.
From experts in dermatology like my sister, surgery, internal medicine, CBD use in pets, the pet food industry, you name it. If it affects pets, we'll talk about it.
Today's Speaking of Pets podcast is sponsored by Blue Buffalo, the maker of natural pet foods. Love them like family, feed them like family. Blue Buffalo offers wholesome, meat-first recipes with high-quality natural ingredients in flavors dogs and cats love. Discover formulas for all breed sizes, life stages, and lifestyles. And with Blue Buffalo's True Blue Promise, that assures that real meat is the first ingredient, with no poultry byproducts, no corn, wheat, or soy, and no artificial flavors or preservatives. Hey, Janet, you know what? You and I both adopted from Golden Treasures Golden Retriever Rescue, which of course adopts and saves lives of golden retrievers, but they also do other breeds too. They never refuse, say if there's two dogs that need to be adopted, and one's a beagle, one's a golden, they won't turn that beagle down. So anyway, we are very lucky today to have Sandy Strebler, who runs Golden Treasures Golden Retriever Rescue. She established it in 2004. Wow. Sandy is a registered nurse, so we've got the right person running this because, you know, some of these pets come in with physical problems as well as emotional problems. Right. So I'm really excited to talk to her today and for us to ask her all about the rescue.
Yeah, Sandy's great, and the work she does, because they're just so considerate about which pets they take on, who fosters them. They're so careful to place those pets. They put a lot into it. They don't just hand over the dogs, and I really appreciate that. That's where our Libby came from, and you know, we're an exception. We're out of state, but I kind of had that Ohio connection, so it worked out being a Novotny sister. They're just very careful and cautious, and I appreciate that because they don't want to fail when they place the pet. It's traumatic for the pet.
And you know, some of those dogs come in with physical problems, like they need a hip replacement. They have ACL tears. We've got two now that they're being treated for heartworm. They're heartworm positive. They were never given heartworm preventative. So this is the expense that they these rescue groups run into. Yeah. And it's all donation only. They're not funded by anybody. You know, they have a yearly fundraiser, and that's about it. And I've known them to spend $5,000 on an ACL repair. I mean, because she takes them to the boarded veterinary surgeon to have this work done. So, you know, when people when people adopt from rescue, they wonder why it costs $300, $500 to adopt the rescue, because there's already a lot of money that's been put into that animal in order to get it ready for adoption. And that doesn't even count the spay and neuter.
Well, I know our Libby, because she was hit by a car. And her hip was repaired, and then she had another surgery to get spayed. And so when we got her, she had like no hair, you know, on her backside, but grew in beautifully. She looks like a regular golden, but she was very well taken care of. That's for sure.
And you know, we're going to be talking to her surgeon in a couple of weeks when he's on, so you can ask all the questions you want from Dr. Paget.
Oh, that's great.
Remember, you were telling me about the day you adopted Libby. And of course, I always tell you about, you know, when I got my little Gidget and Annie, and them both being from Golden Treasures, Golden Retriever Rescue, of which this is my 7th dog from them. You're only on 1, so you got quite a ways to go. But I've invited Sandy Strebler, who runs Golden Treasures Rescue. She started it in 2004, so it's been 20 years. I can't believe it. And she's going to talk to us today about what's involved with adopting a rescue, fostering, the advantages, some of their problems, all that. And we're just very lucky to have her because she's always going somewhere rescuing dogs. And so we've got her for just a little bit today before she's got to go and get another dog a happy home. So welcome, Sandy.
Yay, Sandy. We're so happy to have you. How did you get started doing this? Because it's truly a gift of the heart.
I just always have loved dogs, animals in general, but dogs. And ever since I was young, I was the one bringing home animals, dogs, strays. And when I was young, I just started volunteering for different rescue groups.
Because I know,
You
I
know,
think it was this summer you had the 10 or 12 puppies, because I was getting videos.
oh
And
yeah,
it was
tell us
like
about that.
12 little puppies running down. How did you handle all that?
Uh, it was a lot of work, something I hope to not have to do for a long time again. But we got in a Amish mill mom, and they didn't know she was pregnant, and she had pups, 10 of them. And the person we had lined up to whelp them ended up backing out. So they ended up at my house. And a couple of them were struggling at first because it was a big litter. So we had to tube feed. It was a lot of work. It was pretty stressful the first couple weeks.
Well, and you
What?
have, I think you have 2 or 3 Goldens. I can't remember. Big ones.
Yes, three myself.
And
Hmm.
how were they with the puppies?
We kept them separated because the mom could, get protective of her puppies and just wanted to make sure they were healthy and everything. So we just kept them separate in a separate part of the house, and they started. It wasn't too bad until they got about 6 weeks old, and then they were everywhere. They were into everything and everywhere.
Janet, we have video of those puppies. It's hysterical. I think I sent it to you. We'll have to put it on the show because it's so darn cute. And they each had their own individual personalities. Here goes.
Let's go. Pop, 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 pop,
Yay,
pop, pop, pop,
puppies!
pop, pop,
Yay,
pop, 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 pop. Come
puppies!
on, pop, pop, come on, come on, come on, come on,
Yay!
come on, pop, pop,
Hi,
pop.
everybody!
Come on, grab the last
Hi,
one,
pup
last
food!
one.
Oh my gosh! Hi, everyone!
Ooh, how soft.
Look at you! Oh gosh!
Yeah. And they
They
had a
did.
different color, like, it was like kind of like a soft fabric or elastic collar, because they all had names too, I think.
Yeah, well, colors. Yeah, that's how we
Colors.
told them apart. Yeah.
So
I
what
felt
if
so
I were
badly
if
when when people came to adopt him. It was like they were children leaving, and Sandy's husband felt that same way too. I said, "Oh my gosh," because they were just so well cared for. Sandy's a nurse, a registered nurse. So these puppies, I can't. And she slept. They were in her bedroom. I mean, these puppies got off to the best start that you'll ever find. I mean, they were so lucky. And then the mom got a really good home too, didn't she, Sandy?
Yeah, one of our volunteers ended up taking her, and she's doing really well. All the puppies are doing well.
Aw.
We've kept in touch because I think there'll be a year old in July.
Oh God, I can't believe it's
So
already.
what's the process through Golden Treasures of adopting? Are they all Goldens? But what's the process for
Mostly
someone to
Goldens. Yeah. Occasionally we get in a pair with a non-golden or a golden mix. But if somebody's interested, the first thing they do is they submit an application from the website online. And then the first thing we do is we call their vet and do a vet check to make sure they've taken care of previous animals. And then from there, one of our members, a volunteer, calls and talks with them on the phone in more detail about what they're looking to adopt, to try and get a gauge on what activity level and whatnot. We do home visits to check out to make sure, if they say they have a fenced yard, that they indeed do. Then, we have foster homes. Once the application's approved and everything's okay, we try and make a match, have the foster home call them, talk with them about the dog, see if everybody thinks it sounds like a good match. And if so, then we set up a meet and greet. And so if they have other dogs, you're making sure that they're all getting along and do the meet and greet. And if everything goes okay, then they adopt and sign the adoption contract.
Wow. And is there a cost involved?
Yes, an adoption fee. And that usually doesn't cover our medical expenses, but we just, we do fundraisers to raise money to stay
All the
afloat.
dogs, yeah. What Sandy isn't giving herself enough credit. They're all spayed and neutered. They're all
Yes, when they
vaccinated,
when we
all
get a dog
microchipped.
in, they if we know shot history, we'll update it. If we don't know the history, then we'll just go ahead and do all the shots, spay and neuter, and that's all done. Get them groomed before they go into a foster home.
And what she's not telling you is sometimes they get dogs in that are heartworm positive, so that's several $1,000s of treatment that
Yes.
the rescue
Yes,
pays for.
there's yeah, or they need hip replacement surgery or an
Right.
ACL surgery or something. So we try and cover, if they have a medical need, we try and cover it before they're adopted out, take care of it, at least get it stabilized.
What do you
And
look for
Sandy,
in a
tell
foster
tell
parent?
people the importance of a fence because I hear from some wannabe adopters. Well, they wouldn't adopt us because we didn't have a fence. Explain that because I get it. Having rescues, they want to take off every second. They just want to run. They don't know that this is their home. Well, mine do now, but I mean, when they're first adopted, they don't know that.
Yeah, they don't. And a lot of, especially dogs from mills, which we're getting a lot of those in now, but any dog, they go into a new environment, they don't know where they don't know where they are, they haven't bonded with you yet. And people, I think, they just, if they had a dog that was easy before, they expect the next dog they adopt to be easy, so they don't give them the time to decompress and settle in. But they can be flight risks, they get lost, they can get hit by car, so we just want them kept safe. So we generally, unless it's a dog that comes from a home that the people tell us giving the dog up, they didn't have a fence, they do okay, they stick around. We usually require a fence if they're from a shelter, especially if they're from an mill, because they tend to be really shy and high flight risks. Because the first thing people want to do, they get a scared dog and they want to chase after them, and that's the worst thing you can do because you're just going to chase them away.
So what do you look for in a foster parent, a dog foster parent?
Well, they actually go through the same process as an adopter, and we check them out, make sure, do a home visit, and then we just ask them. We pay for everything, the food, whatever. Although a lot of foster homes, they say that's their donation and they won't take reimbursement. But they just give the dog a lot of TLC, try and get it housebroken, try and get it crate trained. If there's certain things we need to work on, just simple things, getting it to sit, getting it comfortable, walking on a leash, that kind of thing. Just basics.
Because Erin was our foster mom for Libby, and she was fantastic. Libby was potty trained when we got her. She was leash trained, and that's when Alice told me, because she was a rescue, to double leash her, which I think is a really good trick that a lot of pet owners don't know about. So you have two
slip
leashes.
lead is definitely, a slip lead is an extra leash to have on, because dogs will get scared and they'll back out of their collar, and you're holding a leash and a collar, and then there goes the dog.
Yeah.
And that's happened we've helped people get dogs back before that's happened to them.
Will you tell the Michigan story, Sandy? Please.
Yeah. So we try and keep adoptions now within, especially if it's a shy dog, within like 2 hours or 3 hours. But we adopted this dog back in 2010 up in Michigan, and it was about 4.5 hours away. But the people checked out, everything was good, but they didn't even get him out of the car. When they got home, they had taken the leashes, everything off of him in the car, and they opened the car door and he shot out of there like a bullet. And they lived on Lake Huron, and there's lots of woods and everything around, and he was off and running. And he was only about 10 months old and very, very shy. And the whole litter that had come in, they're sometimes we get dogs that don't like a crate, or they don't like that confinement, they're not used to it, or they have separation anxiety, whatever. And so these were dogs that weren't comfortable in a crate and would just go ballistic in a crate. So to try and use a live trap for him, he wouldn't go in a live trap. So it took us 10 months to get him back, but we finally did. It did have a happy ending, thank goodness. But there was a very busy road right in front of these people's house, 55 mile an hour country road. So we ended up having to use a snare trap to get him, which we didn't want to do because it can be dangerous, but we were kind of at the end of our rope. And so we put a camera on the beach, and hooked it into computer. I didn't do it because I don't know anything about computers, but anyway, so we could watch him, sit and watch on the computer, watch the beach where we put food out. And for 10 months, we would see his footprints on the beach. We knew he would come there, every night. We had trail cameras out getting pictures. And so we had some very nice people up there that were helping us, not the people that adopted, but neighbors of theirs that were putting out food and helping us. And so we were sitting up there. We set the snare trap. We were watching it all night because these dogs very frequently become nocturnal when they're shy like that, and they get out and they're not comfortable. They'll sleep during the day where there's a lot of activity, and then come out at night. And I think part of the reason is they need to be on their toes because of predators, coyotes, whatever. So anyway, we were watching, and we got lucky this night and got him, and we saw as soon as he got in the snare trap, we ran down. We were like, I don't know, 500 feet away, and grabbed him.
How's he doing today?
Well, he did fine. We had placed him in a home, and he would have been 12, 13. That home just lost him just in the last year.
Oh.
So, but he was a senior. He had cancer. So.
Didn't you sleep in the woods?
Yes, we slept in a tent.
Come on, tell the whole story.
She slept in a tent for 2 weeks.
We kept going back to Michigan because we were working. So days off, weekends, we would go back, sleep in the tent, stay up all night, trying to get a glimpse of him, trying to get him to come to us. We took his litter mates up one weekend. We took his mom up one weekend, hoping that he would come to them, but he was so scared. He would get 100 feet from us, and then he was gone. So, but luckily, he was staying around that area. He had been neutered. If he hadn't been neutered, he might have gone out of that area. But my understanding is, unless they're intact or a real running breed, typically they'll stay within like a 2-mile radius.
Wow.
Not all dogs, but most. As long as they have a food source.
Wow. That's a pretty big radius.
Hey, did you know that for dogs and cats that could benefit from a prescription diet, Blue Buffalo offers natural veterinary diets formulated by animal nutritionists and veterinarians for certain dietary needs like kidney support, weight management, gastrointestinal support, and my particular favorite, dermatology. They make a food allergic diet that's an alligator-based called NP or a hydrolyzed salmon-based for dogs and cats called HF. Contact your veterinarian about these prescription Blue Buffalo diets. Gidget, my Gidget that I got from Golden Treasures is from China.
When we have room and the financially can swing it because it's quite expensive, they would come over from other countries that were in need. The China, the meat markets. It's just horrible the way that some of the dogs are treated. There are a lot of them. So,
how many volunteers do you have?
What,
Wait.
Janet?
Can you not hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, Alice
Faintly.
can't.
Faintly.
Oh, so my question is, how many volunteers are there at Golden Rescue?
Golden Treasures.
Or Golden Treasures, sorry.
We have a lot of members, but there's, in most rescues you get just your main dozen people that are doing most of the work.
Wow.
I mean, other people volunteer now and then, but we've probably got six or eight foster homes that are regulars, and the same couple people helping with fundraising and intake and working with the dogs.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
The other thing, Janet, Sandy also, for example, when we had Daisy and Zoe, they were 2 dogs that lived in Columbus. They were taken to the shelter at age 8 because the lady was moving. And Daisy was a golden, but Zoe was a little beagle mix. And so one of the golden rescue groups was called, and they said, well, we'll take the golden, but we won't take the other one. And thank God the shelter said no. They've been together 8 years.
Yeah.
So, of course, Sandy took both of them. But, you know, since I've known Sandy, there's a lot of other breeds that come through there, too, that get home. So it's not just golden retriever rescue, but the majority is that, you know. But it's not, she would never turn down a dog because it's not a golden. Let's just put it that way. Yeah.
Right.
True. And it's just like if they have other breeds, we try and network with other rescues to try and take them. And that's how I ended up with the Irish Doodle that I'm fostering now.
Yeah, tell us about Stella and your clothes. I told Janet this yesterday.
Well, she had separation anxiety, pretty severe, and she was one that couldn't be crated. She destroyed plastic crates, metal crates. I had to order a gorilla crate. And it's a gradual, it's a work in progress, but now she can be in the crate about 4 hours. And she was going to the bathroom in the crate too, which, you know,
That's
is her
odd.
anxiety. But anyway, she's doing much better. She's not going to the bathroom in the crate. She can be in there 3.5, 4 hours. She's doing great with the dogs and everything. But the other morning I went to the gym and my husband was home and I didn't know he had to leave. He was in the shower. And when I came home from the gym, he was gone. And Stella meets me with the other dogs at the door. But she had pulled all my clothes that weren't nailed down to the back door. But luckily she didn't do any real damage anywhere.
Yeah.
So
She wanted you.
but she was put in a home first. A lady took her because I thought we had another rescue lined up for her. But anyway, the lady didn't have another dog and had her and went to work. She busted out of her crate and tore all her curtains down and her curtain rods and everything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
anyway, so
Yeah.
she's doing much better though. But it's been it's been 4 months because it takes these dogs. People
Yeah.
don't realize. I think they expect too much too quickly.
Yeah.
And it really, a dog going into a new home, they're nervous. It's a change.
Sure.
There's a lot of nervous energy, especially during the first 4 or 5 days. They might drink more water. If they're going to have accidents, they need out more frequently. So whenever we have somebody adopting, we ask them to take a dog when they're going to be home for a few days and get the dog in a routine and make sure they can get it out frequently. And then just, we hope that they give them time and realize, that there's a lot of nervous energy and adjustment for the first couple weeks. And the dogs from Amish mills that haven't had the socialization, that haven't had, the only good thing in their life they've had is another dog, really. They haven't had all these, toys, just
right.
exposure to stuff.
Yeah.
So they're really shut down and shy. And it can take 3 to 6 months for them to get comfortable and to start, really trusting and starting to act like a normal dog.
Janet, the other thing that I love about Golden Treasures Rescue is they match the right dog, the right personality to the right human personality. And Sandy, tell the story yesterday that you told me about that young male dog that's already had 3 homes now. Not because of Golden Treasures, but because these people called Sandy.
Yeah. So an older couple, I think she was in her upper 60s and the guy's 70s. But they adopted a dog from a local shelter, a golden mix, 2 weeks ago. And they called us and said, he's just way too much for us. We can't handle him. I called the shelter to try and get some background information on the dog and just medical stuff. And they said that he had been turned in first a year ago when he was 6 months old because a younger guy had gotten him from Petland and he was in the crate all the time, didn't have time for him. So he left him at the shelter. They adopted him out to an older guy, and that guy came back and left him just 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, whatever it was, because he said he really wasn't able to do a lot with him, but he hurt his shoulder and had to have shoulder surgery, and he didn't have any help with the dog. So he was back at the shelter again. And so a lot of the shelters now they try and adopt them out to the public first, which is fine. But they really, most of them have gone to first one here gets the dog. Okay. They don't
Right.
try and figure out,
Yeah.
or maybe they do, but they're not allowed, I guess, to really say you can't have this dog because there's no way you're going to be able to handle him.
Right.
So anyway, these people showed up and they were the first ones there, and they said they, spent about 5 minutes with him, and he was real excitable, but they thought it was because he was, in the shelter. And they got him home, and he has no manners. Nobody has taught the dog anything. He's, a wild child.
And he's big, right?
People,
He's a big one.
well, no, he's 57 pounds, so he's small for a male.
Yeah.
But these people are older. They had a golden
Yeah.
mix that died that was like 15 years old, and people
yeah.
forget what it was like to have a young dog. And then they, they're 15 years older, and they don't realize, they go into it with good intentions, but anyway, so they didn't want to send him back to the shelter, and they didn't. So we had them meet with a trainer, and they've agreed to try and keep him and hang on to him until we have a foster open to take him.
Oh, good. Do they have another dog, Sandy, or no?
No, they do not.
Be nice to have another dog. He could get some of that energy out,
Yeah, exactly. And so that's part of the, the good thing. I think that's why rescues sometimes are more successful than shelters. A lot of they'll end up back, or even some of the all breed rescues. They're so overwhelmed with dogs. They're just desperate for homes, and they get out, and then they'll get them returned, for one reason or another.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like you want to adopt them out and have it be one and done. Have that be their forever home.
Exactly.
So they don't have to keep relocating.
Yeah, I think it would be wise if the shelters if the city or where, if they could pay a trainer to be there and then work with people, and and maybe put it on the trainer to let them know, hey, there's no way you can handle this dog, or whatever.
Do you get many older dogs, many senior dogs? Because that's what I like to adopt.
Yeah, no, back in 2008, 2009, well, that's when we had 7 dogs ourselves, and most of them were seniors because we were getting them in all the time. And they were hard to, people didn't want to adopt seniors. They're everybody wants a young puppy or young dog. But now we haven't seen that many older ones. Most of them have been middle-aged or younger, knock on wood. I think the oldest one we have in right now is 7 or 8.
Oh, really? Okay.
Sandy, we have a question for you.
Yes.
What is your pet peeve?
Oh, don't get her started.
It can be about humans or pets.
I like to call it a human peeve.
Well, just that people don't understand, and the first time the dog does something wrong, they're on the phone calling. You've got to have patience and tolerance, and try and work with the dog, and there's a lot of people that just get I think they just expect too much too soon.
Yeah.
Do you ever have to say no to somebody? I mean, I know you hate to, but if you think like they want, like the dog you were just talking about, the one that has all that energy, and you can see that like an 80-year-old couple, this isn't the dog for them.
Yeah, no, we say no. Yeah, because our first priority is the dog and the dog's well-being, and we try not to offend anybody, but like I said, the dog is our first priority.
And to me, I think people can be a little bit offended, as opposed to a dog moving into an atmosphere where he's going to be then, okay, we don't want him, he's got to go into another home, you know? So get over it, people. You know what I'm saying? Get over it. This isn't the home for this dog for you. There will be another dog for you, but we want it to be the right match. What about cats? What about, like, do you cat test these dogs?
Libby was cat tested at your house.
Yeah.
We try to. We used to have a vet clinic that had cats where we could easily cat test, and they don't have cats anymore. I think we only have one foster with cats.
Okay.
So typically, a lot of times, what I'll do is I will go to the people that want to adopt, take the dog and test there and leave the leash on, and just have control of the dog and see what their response is. So sometimes we have to cat test that way.
Yeah.
How do they flunk the
they're
cat
close.
test when they like aggressively go after the cat?
Yeah, if they're lunging and like look, like they're trying to eat the cat.
Cat.
It,
Yeah.
and some cats, if they, I like it if they have their claws, because a lot of times if a cat will give them, hiss or give them a good swat.
Yeah. Yeah.
And still, you want to have control of the dog. You have to have control of the dog, but a lot of times that they'll just back right off. And that's younger ones that they just don't know it's a game. They want to chase. If the cat's going to run, they're going to want to chase.
Yeah.
And sometimes they don't mean to, hurt the cat. It's just a game, but you just still have to be careful.
Who's upset? Who's barking?
Which one's barking?
I had to move 3 of them out of the office, and he can see me. He's on the deck, on the patio, the screened-in patio.
Speaking
I'm
of
waiting for the mouse to
cat
come back
testing,
out.
Speaking of cat testing, one time I had a cat that I found at a jazzercise class at the Medina Rec Center, Sandy, that's leg was in a leg hold trap. And you knew that because it was calloused and walking like this. So anyway, her name was Kitty Carlisle. And Kitty Carlisle was a tough number to work with. I had her when I was in vet school, and she had that feline, what we used to call feline urologic syndrome, where she would squat and pee one little drop of blood, and she was always in pain. So I took her to OSU, and they fixed her up. They changed her diet, and she actually bit the vet student that was taking care of her, even though she had will bite stickers all over her chart. But so one day I'm at home, and I must have been home for the weekend, and this German Shepherd that I didn't recognize from the neighborhood comes walking up the driveway. And now that I think about it, it could have been a coyote. That cat, Kitty Carlisle, chased him down that driveway. I had never seen anything like it. And she puffed up and she chased him down that driveway. And that dog took off, I'm telling you. Kitty Carlisle she had a lot of frenemies, let's put it that way. Yeah.
Hey, and for our younger listeners, Alice, who was Kitty Carlisle? Does anyone remember?
She was on the What's My Line panel.
That's right.
She was a socialite, and I will tell you this, I know minutia, she swam every day of her life. She lived into her 90s. She died from a stroke, but she went swimming in New York City and Manhattan somewhere, indoors, every day.
Wow. Just so people know, Kitty Carlisle was a famous person.
Yeah, right. So anyway, Janet, you got any more questions? How can they get in touch with Golden Treasures, Golden Retriever Rescue on their Facebook page, right, Sandy?
Yes, Golden Treasures Rescue, or goldentreasuresrescue.org.
And then what's the fundraiser coming up?
Bingo. That's in April, and then we always have a silent auction, and that's sometime in the fall.
Yes.
Oh, that's great.
And last fall, there was a special appearance by a Hall of Fame football player.
There was.
Yes.
Not to be named?
I think we have a picture somewhere.
Yes, I have a picture with him. Only because my husband's a pharmacist, and he was one of my husband's customers. And let me tell you, he is such a lovely person. He's an Akronite, so.
So we're still not saying the name.
Sandy? Mr. Robinson, that's what I call him. I have the greatest respect for him. Mr. Robinson.
Thanks for listening. And Sandy, thank you for the heartfelt work that you do. You are amazing. And every day I'm grateful for you because you brought us our Libby, who's asleep right now listening.
She brought me all of my animal children.
Well, thank you.
You do wonderful work. Thank you.
So this is Alice Novotny Jeroman
and Janet Novotny King, the Novotny sisters, saying thanks for joining
kiss or
us.
Hug your pet today.
Right on the lips.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Hey, thanks for tuning in today. We hope you found the science-based information provided helpful in taking care of your pet. Check out our other Speaking of Pets episodes wherever you get your podcasts.
We'd love to hear from you. So email your pet photos and or pet peeves to contact@speakingofpetspod.com. Remember to follow Speaking of Pets on all social media.